Hey guys, welcome to MBJD. I'm JD.
And I'm Matt.
And today, Matt is going to be putting up his rankings for the NFL teams. Let's begin.
So we're calling these the rankings that don't matter because it is March and a lot is going to happen. Like, the draft hasn't even happened. There is still free agency happening. The camps haven't even started. Injuries haven't happened. People haven't been cut yet. None of this is going to matter come September.
Yep, this is a completely irrelevant list.
This is how I feel. JD had a little bit of input, kind of helped me along because, let's be honest, there's a lot of teams.
There's a lot of teams.
We forget about a lot of teams.
We forgot about a lot of teams.
Yeah.
So if you don't see your team, too bad. But
they're on there.
They're on there. I really don't have any skin in this game, so
let's begin. Alright. So, number one overall. I know everyone's going to be like, we're just picking them because they won the Super Bowl last year. No, I'm picking them because they're the best team and their defense just got a whole lot scarier. The Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, come on. Seriously, that team is going... Alright, I'm a diehard Ravens fan, as you have seen in previous videos, but this Eagles team, you gotta respect them. They're going to win, and they're going to win a lot.
I agree. I mean, the team was already pretty lights out, but now they're getting Carson Wentz back. They've bolstered their defense with the recent additions of Haloti Ngata and Michael Bennett. It's just going to be...
It's that right there, the Michael Bennett and Haloti Ngata. And with Carson Wentz coming back. I mean, Nick Foles by himself was a great quarterback. But Carson Wentz coming back in, I mean, his physique and the way that he plays, on top of the fact that their defensive line and their linebackers are going to be lights out. They're going to win 6 games in their division. So that's 6 wins automatically on top of the easy games they're already going to have.
Yeah, Carson Wentz is basically a taller and not quite as handsome Russell Wilson.
Okay. So number 2 is the New England Patriots, and it's mostly because Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I mean, do you really need anything more? I mean, they take wide receivers you've never heard of, like Chris Hogan and Danny Amendola.
What?
No, Amendola.
You mean Amendola?
Amendola, yes.
Are you saying armadillo?
Probably. See, you don't know him. I mean, we all know him now, but back then you didn't know him, and you don't know how to say his name.
What is back then? He's been around for a few years now.
Like 3.
That's enough for you to know his name.
I don't care about the Patriots.
You're just a bitter person.
I am a bitter person.
Next up on the list, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, it was extremely painful for Matt to put them this high on his list, but you can't deny the firepower they have on offense.
I respect them.
Big Ben returning, Juju Smith-Schuster having a breakout year, and also having Antonio Brown
and
Le'Veon Bell on a franchise tag. But still, they have some of the biggest powerhouses in Still, they have an incredibly powerful offense.
They do, and their defense is still great.
I wouldn't say it's great. It's not like the traditional steel curtain Steelers, but it's definitely better than it has been in the past couple of years.
And to be completely honest, all you need to do is stop teams enough that their offense can just overpower and outscore the other offense.
Exactly what they didn't do against the Jags.
Yes, because the Jags defense was just ridiculous against them. They had their number.
Yes, they
both
did.
games.
Yeah, those are painful to watch. Next on the list is the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, some people may be bitter about Pat Mahomes taking over the spot for Alex Smith, but boy, does he look good. I mean, not only from the combine, but also the game he had last year. He's got a gun, and I think he's going to develop into a really good quarterback. Alex Smith, it just seems the way that his career is going. He shows up, does a good job, and then just some hot shot comes up and takes his spot. So best of luck to him in Washington, but the Chiefs, they're looking pretty good.
So next we have the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, I have never been a big fan of Matt Ryan. but you have to throw respect out there. He's done a great job for many years. He's thrown up a lot of great numbers. You know, his QB rating, his yards per season, you know, how many touchdowns he throws, and the fact that he wins consistently. Can he win the playoffs? No, he can't. That's a different story. It's the fact that he can continue to win in the regular season that will get him to the playoffs, and all he needs is just that team behind him and that defense. The defense needs to step up. It's a good defense, but they need to take that next step to the point where they're actually not just okay, but good or even great.
The thing about the Falcons is that they have now learned that they cannot rely solely on Matt Ryan to carry the team, but they have to be balanced on offense and defense.
He's not a Tom Brady. You can't just rely on him to carry you into the promised land. He's going to take you through the regular season, but he's going to tire out, and teams are going to figure out how to defend against him.
Good.
Next up is the Los Angeles Rams. This is a team that, honestly, I would have never put up there until last year. I saw them playing last year, and I thought, oh my God, is this the same Rams I saw back in St. Louis? No, it's a completely different team. Now, yes, their defense is still incredible and probably one of the top 5 defenses in the entire league. And now they have a quarterback and a coach, both who are very new at the game in the NFL, who want to win and have to win to keep their jobs. Because when you're that new in the NFL, you need to prove yourself. And prove yourself to a new city who now has 2 teams and has to choose between these 2 different teams. And they're also building a stadium for $2 billion. Man, that's a lot of expectations to live up to.
I mean, the Rams really show just how much of a devastating effect Jeff Fisher as head coach was to that organization.
It does.
They've literally gone from last to first in their division in 1 year, and the one major change was him.
Yes.
I mean,
that's the biggest change there.
Jeff Fisher, when he had Nick Foles and Jared Goff, and both were awful. People were writing them off. Nick Foles was going to retire, and look, he won the Super Bowl. And Jared Goff, I mean, he put up MVP contention numbers.
He was definitely in the talk. I don't think he was going to win it.
No.
He was definitely in the talk of, hey, listen, if he continues to do this in the next couple of years, he might win it, actually.
Yes. Next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings. They just signed a new quarterback. You might have heard of Kirk Cousins. Good job of getting a mediocre B+ starting quarterback in the league. Quarterbacks are very hard to find. It's really surprising. It's just that there is one on the sidelines that no one's looking at, but we are not going to touch that today.
Nope.
Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints. I mean, they just signed Drew Brees to a 2-year extension.
$50 million.
He's getting paid, and they also have a balanced running game now. Their defense is bend and not break. What's there more to say? They're a playoff contingent team year in and year out.
Up next, we have at number 9 the Houston Texans. They are led by quarterback Deshaun Watson,
who is a stud.
Still to be seen. His rookie season was incredible. Coming out of college, beating Alabama, coming out and proving that he can be a pretty good quarterback, beating New England, but then he got injured. So I want to be able to see him come back to win, to get over that injury, not to be afraid of re-injuring his knee, but to come back and actually take charge, become a leader, and take Houston to the promised land, because they really need to go there, especially after the Houston Astros won a World Series.
Yeah, they can't be the only team in Houston to not win a championship, so clock's a ticking.
And at number 10, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Jaguars, for many years, for most of my lifetime, were basically the laughingstock of the NFL. And a lot of times people thought that they were going to move because they were the laughingstock of the NFL. But now they have a defense. They have a defense that can intercept Ben Roethlisberger 5 times. Oh wait, was that 6 times? In one game. In one game.
Now, we're not saying that it's difficult to intercept Ben Roethlisberger, but just the amount of times they are able to do it,
I mean,
that's where
Ed Reed did make a career out of intercepting Ben Roethlisberger. But the Jacksonville Jaguars are legit. Now, Blake Bortles, he's a quarterback that can stand behind the center and receive the ball and hand the ball off. That's about what he does. That's what he's good at. And that's yet should actually be seen that he's actually good at that.
All he needs to do is feed the beast that is Leonard Fournette and then just manage the game. Their defense will hold back their opponent. All they need to do is not turn over the ball, which they didn't do against New England.
Yep.
All those 3-and-outs cost them dearly.
That was the game right there.
Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this season is going to be make or break for Dak Prescott. It really depends if the coaching staff and the ownership will actually get behind him and give him what he needs in order to succeed, instead of trying to make him fit the mold that they want him to. Now, they have an excellent running game with Zeke Elliott, who will not be suspended at any point this year unless he continues to do something stupid. And their defense is hit or miss. It depends if Sean Lee is on the field. But I digress. It's going to be a toss-up for the Cowboys. But on paper, at least, they rank pretty highly. Next up, we have the Oakland Raiders and their new head coach, John Gruden.
That's a surprise.
Yeah, but he has technically stayed in the game, working for ESPN. He's seen all the young talent that's been going through there for the past 10 years or so. So we'll see what he can work with Derek Carr and the rest of their team.
Yeah, and also the new addition, Jordy Nelson, coming from the Green Bay Packers. Let's see how he does.
And they could have a running game with beast mode. This could be his last year, so we'll see if he goes out with a bang or a boom. So
yeah,
it's a toss-up. Next couple of years, they're going to be moving to Vegas, go out in Oakland on a high note.
Hopefully. Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens. My team, and he's going to walk out on this because he agrees nothing with this. So the Baltimore Ravens, just a couple weeks ago, he completely roasted the Ravens, saying they're going to lose pretty much every game or just be a below average team. And then what happened, JP? They signed some people.
You mean they signed some wash-up veterans that will prove to be costly to them in the future?
It's not going to be costly to them in the future.
What
is Baltimore good at?
They're good at signing underperforming old people who will get injured and cannot contribute to the team.
No, they are good at signing veteran wide receivers that will only be good for 2 or 3 years, but they only need them for 2 or 3 years. Steve Smith, Derek Mason, Anquan Bolden. These guys right here were the pinnacle and probably the best wide receivers the Ravens ever had. Anquan Bolden was a very big reason why they went to the Super Bowl.
You're saying that Baltimore having no marquee receivers is a good thing.
I'm not saying that it's a good thing. What I'm saying is that it has worked for them in the past and it continues to work for them. What they do need to do is draft some wide receivers in the draft.
Well, they did draft wide receivers in the past, and then they won, and then they decided to cut them.
Yes.
Torrey Smith. He's got 2 rings now.
He does have 2 rings. And now he's headed to Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is that Baltimore now has a better chance than they did before. They actually have a wide receiver who has great hands that Joe Flacco can throw the ball to. Now, this all really relies on Joe Flacco.
Did you just say Michael Crabtree has great hands? He is just blind. Blind.
So basically, this all relies on essentially one person. That is Joe Flacco.
Who will let them down.
And that's why I have him down at number 13.
They should be lower, but his heart is too strong.
See, the thing is, they could be higher if Joe Flacco plays at a higher caliber like he has before. Or they could be lower like he was last year.
They should be lower.
We'll see how it goes.
He's getting older. He's very inaccurate. For as big of an arm that he does, he doesn't push the ball downfield anymore.
We'll see how it goes.
They should be lower, but
this is my list. It's not your list. Do your own list.
That would take too much effort.
Okay.
And I basically did last week.
Yeah. So now, next at number 14, we have the Seattle Seahawks. And the reason that they're this low is because they literally only have 2 people to talk about. That is Russell Wilson and Doug Baldwin. There is literally no one else on the team. Their defense is gone. Their offensive line hasn't been existing for the past, 3 or 4 years, something like that. So essentially, Russell Wilson's going to run around the field a lot, probably get sacked a lot, and every once in a while throw the ball downfield, and then Doug Baldwin's going to kind of jump and then magically appear in the area where the ball is and catch it.
Yeah, Yes.
That's going to be their season.
But at least he has a backup to play for the New York Yankees during the 2018 season.
So if this year doesn't go well, he just goes to the Yankees.
And get another championship and then pull a Deion Sanders and have championship rings in 2 sports.
We'll talk about that later. All right, JD, who's up next?
Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers. Now, they were at the bottom of the barrel along with the Browns and the Jags. But at the end of the season, they got a little somebody named Jimmy G from the Patriots. And then they went on a little tear, winning 5 in a row, including beating the Jags, who had completely destroyed the Steelers, and showing that they could be a force to be reckoned with. Not to mention, they've also made a few other offseason additions, including bolstering up their defense with Richard Sherman. They've added a couple receivers. It is actually looking like a good team.
So I put them kind of in the middle of the pack, mostly because I feel like there is a chance that they could do well. Jimmy Garoppolo could turn out to be a very good quarterback. This is still yet to be seen by me and by JD. We would like to say that his years under Tom Brady have proven to be a great education for him.
But he has shown that he can be an incredibly capable quarterback, but we don't know for how long he can be an incredibly capable quarterback because we don't have that much long stretch data on him.
There's no history to back that he's actually going to be a good quarterback. There's a little bit, but we need to see more. Basically what we're saying is this year is your year to prove it.
This will be the year whether you see if Jimmy G can be the next Aaron Rodgers or the next Tyrod Taylor. So we'll wait and see and let you know.
All right, so up next, Green Bay Packers.
Green Bay Packers, they are shooting Aaron Rodgers in both legs, getting rid of his stalwart receivers, Jordy Nelson.
His security blanket, basically.
His security blanket, Jordy Nelson. Although he has been injured the past couple years, but you can't imagine Jordy Nelson in a uniform that isn't the Packers. Aaron Rodgers will just be by himself out there, essentially. They have no offensive line, they have no running game, and they have no defense. So unless he can throw it 60 yards and then run down the field and catch it himself, they're not going to go very far this year.
Now, this could also be a year for him to prove that he's also the next Tom Brady, because Tom Brady is extremely good at taking wide receivers that nobody's heard of and turning into wide receivers that everybody wants.
The thing with Tom Brady, though, is that he has a balanced running game to offset his passing attack. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers do not have any to speak of.
No, they do not. All right, the Cleveland Browns. I know, I put them so high. They're number 17. Why are they so high up? Well, they have a quarterback in Tyrod Taylor. He's not a great quarterback. He's a okay to good quarterback.
He's a B- to C quarterback, which is still better than the vast majority of quarterbacks in the league.
It's still better than any quarterback the Browns have had in quite some time.
This is very true.
And now they also have Jarvis Landry, who they got from the Miami Dolphins. I feel like that combination right there could be lethal.
They have a slot receiver in Jarvis Landry, and they also have the deep threat that is Josh Gordon. People forget that he's back off suspension and he's fresh. Yeah, he's a little older now, but he hasn't been playing, so that means he has that many more years left to play. They could be a threat offensively. Defensively, they have Myles Garrett, last year's #1 overall pick, and we'll have to wait and see. It's a toss-up.
All right, and next up at number 18, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. So yes, we now have the Browns above the Bengals. No one thought that was going to happen for many years. I think it's going to happen this year. The Bengals, they've kind of been a disappointment the past couple of years. Yes, they have, blown out the Ravens a couple times, taking them out of the postseason, but you know what? They're just really not a good team anymore. They have AJ Green, but when you have a quarterback like Andy Dalton, who was good for 2 or 3 years, and that was it, you're not going to last very long in the NFL, especially considering teams are becoming a lot more pass happy now, and Andy Dalton he lost his touch.
Well, the problem is they don't have a balanced offense. Their offense is Andy Dalton to AJ Green and nothing else. They lost their effectiveness in the running game, and their defense just keeps giving up personal fouls like nobody's business.
That is true.
That is what's killing the team in their crucial moments, except when they get to take out the Ravens in playoff contention.
Yeah.
That was cold
Terrible.
memory.
You got next.
Next up, we have the Carolina Panthers. This year, we're going back to towel over the head Cam, complaining how he's the best player on the team and no one else is on his level. Last year, they showed little spurts, but again, it's just a Cam or nothing team. They added Christian McCaffrey, but he's more of a out of the back, catch a pass back versus a run it down the gut back, because he is a little undersized. Don't get me wrong, he's elusive and quick, but he's not the punch that they were thinking he was going to be on offense. Their defense is still solid, but I mean, Cam, unless he has another MVP type season, they're going to be middle of the road.
And now you also have Torrey Smith, who was a Philadelphia Eagle and who was a San Francisco 49er and a Baltimore Raven, is now with the Carolina Panthers. So they do have another wide receiver threat out there. It's whether or not he will get along with Cam. It kind of feels like if you don't get along with Cam, Cam doesn't throw you the ball, and that's why they lose.
So it remains to be seen. They could be higher on the list. Who knows? They could even be lower, but time will tell. Next up, we have the Detroit Lions. Now, I do have a soft spot for the Detroit Lions.
I do too. I feel sad for them.
I do. The past 2 years, they've been a good team, just that they can't beat the actual really good teams when it counts. Matt Stafford can be a lights-out MVP caliber quarterback, but then other days he turns into the Brett Favre interception machine that he has shown up in his career. I mean, everyone thought he would take a huge dive after Calvin Johnson had his surprise retirement, but he's proven effective at spreading the ball around. They even added a little bit of a running game, but they just can't pull it all together.
They just get to this point where it just seems like they've reached their limit. Maybe it's Matt Stafford, the fact that he can't go any further, or maybe it's the fact that they haven't given, enough talent. Calvin Johnson was there. Megatron, come on, man, this guy was amazing. But was it the fact that he didn't have a quarterback that can throw to him, or maybe it was they didn't bond well? It just feels like they've always been in this kind of just phase.
Well, not always. I mean, they used to be the Cleveland Browns. They had their perfect 0-16 season.
Ever since Matt Stafford has taken the helm.
Ever since Matt Stafford's taken the helm, they've become respectable.
They're respectable, but it's always this. It's like they're kind of middle of the pack, and you don't expect them to get very far this season.
There's just something keeping them from getting over the edge into a good team. But we'll see what happens. Maybe something will change this year in the draft. But again, we'll have to wait and see.
So up next at number 21, I have the Denver Broncos. The reason I have them this low is because for a lot of the offseason, they didn't have a quarterback. Now that they have signed Case Keenum, still don't think it makes a huge difference. I mean, Case Keenum, put it out there, he was respectable last year. He did a great thing in Minnesota. The years before that, he kind of just did things. They weren't amazing, they weren't incredible, and I feel like when he goes to Denver, it's just going to be another just okay, nothing great, and he'll be with another team the next year.
One thing I think Case Keenum does give the Broncos is stability at the quarterback position, because last year was just a nightmare with the quarterback carousel that they had going. No matter who they put in there, they would suck and they would get disheartened. But now they have stability on offense to go along with the aging but still good defense. So they should probably be higher on the list, but again, we don't know how exactly he's going to gel with them offensively.
And I also feel like this defense is kind of on its last leg. I feel like this year or next year is kind of their last hurrah. Like they're going to try and do something, and maybe having that stability as a quarterback, knowing, hey, listen, this is the guy that we're going with through hell or high water. But at the same time, you maybe this is the year where the defense and the offense just falls apart. You never know.
Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins. Jay Cutler's gone. Tannehill is back. They lost Landry, they lost Ajay, and they lost Sue. That's it.
Short and sweet.
Next up is the Washington Redskins. Now,
They lost Kirk Cousins.
but they gained Alex Smith, but they have no receivers, they have no running game, and their only defense is Josh Norman. That's
Isn't
it.
even that good. Up next, we have the Indianapolis Colts. Will Andrew Luck actually come back and perform well?
Will he come back? Period.
That is a good question.
No one knows.
I don't think he even knows.
Based on their logo and their royal blue, we have them ranked at 24.
At number 25, we have the Arizona Cardinals, who have literally let go of everything good that was good about their team. Everybody.
Yet, they're still up pretty high. Next up is the Chargers. Philip Rivers will be pushing a hand cart at the end of the season, and that's if he doesn't get injured and retires. There's really not much to say about the Chargers other than they are the lesser of the two teams in LA, and they're going to struggle to bring those fans out in force.
Yes, they will. Up next, we have the Tennessee Titans, who are commanded by Marcus Mariota, who, let's be honest, we all had extremely high hopes for him coming out of college.
I mean, out of the two quarterbacks in his draft, he is the better one in his draft,
That
but
is
it's
true.
still not a good quarterback
No.
in the NFL. They do have DeMarco Murray, who is a stud at running back, who literally carried the team last year. But other than that, there's not much really to say.
You know, maybe they'll rebuild next year, or, you know, maybe they'll get something good in the draft. But as right now, where they're sitting, there ain't much going for them. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The worst quarterback in that draft with Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston. He has all the intangibles and none of the tangibles.
That's all we really have to say about that team. The New York Jets.
They just signed Josh McCown to a deal, which he signed in a Chick-fil-A parking lot. Shows how great their season's gonna be.
Yep. Up next at number 30, the New York Giants with Eli Manning.
All they have really that's positive, depending on how you look at it, is Odell Beckham,
Maybe.
and that's it.
Yep. The Chicago Bears.
Mitchell Trubisky.
That's not even a good thing. And last but not least, actually, least, is the Buffalo Bills.
They have Shady McCoy. I hope he's happy. I hope maybe he gets traded somewhere nice and warm where he can actually go for a playoff win. Because he deserves it.
Because it's cold in Buffalo.
Especially this season.
This season's going to be very cold.
And that's our list for the power rankings for this upcoming 2018 NFL season.
These are the rankings that don't really matter because they're going to be completely wrong. But if they're right, we should probably play a lottery.
We should play the lottery. But we're not experts, so just our opinions. If we're wrong, and that's okay.
Tell us what you think below in the comments. And please, like or subscribe to our videos. Thank you.
See you guys.
They do.